All right, today on the Dirty Podcast, we got Sol Jakey, not only number one on the Mad Lads roster, but number one in their hearts. Welcome, Jakey.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. For the people in the audience that don't know you, why don't you give a little introduction to yourself? Maybe kind of how you got into crypto, how you got into media. Floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. I am Jake Hillhouse. I'm from just outside of Toronto, Canada, and I've been creating content. I want to say like over 10 years now. It kind of starts from the roots of skateboarding and skateboarding culture, like jackass culture. I found my way into crypto and Web3 in 2021. 2021 happened to be a pretty pivotal year for me. I was kind of like looking for new hobbies. I was replacing old bad, habits with trying to find like new hobbies, and that's where NFTs and crypto and Web3 came into play. And so I've been here every single day for the past 2 years since then. And now we're creating content here in Web3 and, we're repping the lads here. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
You're doing, I saw like an everyday NFT thing, right?
So last year, it was a very rough, kind of tough time for Solana after FTX. And so I kind of just, I don't know what it was. I've always been, like I said before we hopped on here, I'm kind of like a little bit of an attention seeker. And I was like, what's like a series that's just about me, but that can also bring some form of like positive vibes and some positive energy in kind of a dark time for Solana. And so I started doing this daily selfie a day until Solana reaches all-time high. Now, when I originally started doing that, I think I intended to just see how long I could take it, but now it's become such a staple in my everyday like routine that like if I don't do it, I feel like the world is collapsing. So I'm like forced to do it every day. But yes, year one just wrapped up about 2 weeks ago. I did a free mint of the selfies over the past 365 days. I curated the whitelist, airdropped it to homies and people that have supported me, and 0% royalties, not a NFT project, just a cool collectible for this cool series, the first year to live on the blockchain that I love, which is Solana. So yeah, just a fun little endeavor.
Dude, my bags are dependent on you. Let's go. I love that.
I don't like to hear that, but
oh, don't worry. More like me not
fair
fumbling them. So you keep on and I'll keep on. Everybody's happy.
There we go.
You're using Drip too, right?
I am. So yeah, I don't know how many weeks I'm on now for Drip House. I fucking love Drip. I think it's such a cool innovation here. Like for someone that is like, I'm not a good trader. I'm not a developer. I'm not an artist. I like to create content and I like to spread messaging through video content and express my creativity through video content. And so to have a platform like Drip that crushes it on the distribution side, which is something I've always struggled with because of the nature of my content in Web2, it's very hard to get pushed in the algorithm or get brand deals. And so here in Web3, you have cool innovations like Drip Host that just distribute it automatically. If your wallet is subscribed to my channel, you are forced to look at me and my content in your wallet. But you can also unsubscribe, but like it's there and people are going to get it. And so that's so cool to me. But and Drip actually helped out with the daily selfie a day year one collection. They did all the behind the scenes work. They're all every selfie is a CNFT, and so it's been an absolute pleasure to be someone I look up to like heavily in the space, and he's helped me a lot. He's helped me with a lot, even just like besides Drip. So I fucking love Drip House. Yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody living under a rock that doesn't know what Drip House is, it's essentially you go up there, you sign up with your wallet. You used to have to get an access code. It's probably even easier now. And you just subscribe. You go through and you find the artists. Like Pogs are on there, for God's sake. And you just subscribe, and then they literally just slow drip to your wallet. It's really sweet. And I think I want to get people on the podcast. I think Drip House goes a long way into onboarding people, and like I think stuff starts to get really cool.
I mean, NFTs like at its core, right, is like art in like collecting art. Like if you go back to the like original foundations of NFTs, it was art in collecting the art. And so Drip House basically just takes those two fundamentals. And for someone that's brand new that doesn't understand how to work a marketplace or what a floor price is, or all these like other like logistics that we deal with on a daily basis. You take complete newbie and you're like, you're gonna sign up to this, like you're gonna make this wallet, you're gonna sign up to this thing, and you're gonna get airdropped free art. So every time you go in that wallet, there's gonna be something new each week. Um, and so like, yeah, it's perfect for onboarding because I could say that to my mom or my dad and tell them those things. And obviously, of course, I have to help them kind of set up the Phantom wallet. But as far as that goes, they understand that the fundamentals are very easy to understand, and maybe that's kind of the leeway for those people to be like, okay, I've done this. Like, what more does like the blockchain have to offer for me? And so it just makes sense.
Super true. Epic gateway. I think the concerns people had around, oh, but like my NFT has to be have value, and what about the ones that I paid for? And it's like, that there's always going to be ones that are flops. There's always going to be ones that sustain value, and it's just a perfect like little breeding ground for artists to kind of like create a following, figure out what they want to do, throw stuff at the wall. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Yeah,
Speak
no, I couldn't agree more.
and speaking of valuable, awesome NFTs, I want to know how you got Mad Lad's roster spot number one. How did this come to fruition?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's weird too. So I had been creating more like Web3 focused content, mint experiences, trying out these platforms and stuff like that. And then the odd time I post like an old like Web2 video or a vlog segment that I had. And I remember I went to NFT New York. And I had already interacted a little bit with I think I had interacted with Armani a few times on the timeline. The Mad Lad, they actually gave me like a few backpack codes so I can get on backpack and give away some backpack codes. And then I went to NFT New York, and I remember I was at the OK Bears event, and Mad Monkey, who's also on the Mad Lads team, shout out to Mad Monkey. He had walked up to me. I didn't know who he was at the time, and he gave me the first bucket T-shirt, that anybody had in their hands besides the team, as far as I was aware. And so he's like, Armani wanted me to give this to you. I was like, oh shit,
Sick.
like, and I didn't really know Armani like
Sick.
that. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. I'm not sure why I get the pleasure of getting the shirt, but I appreciate it a lot. And then when I got home from NFT New York, Tristan had actually reached out to me, basically along the lines of like, we love your content. I checked out some of your Web2 stuff, your Instagram. Let's hop on a call and see if there's any synergy. And bear in mind, this was like just after Mad Lads had minted. It was like a couple weeks after, right? Because they minted just after NFT New York. So I had that call with Tristan, and we were like trying to find synergy. And I knew I was like, this was a perfect opportunity for me because I was kind of trying to find a way of like, okay, I want to get back in the content game. I want to put my creative focus and process to work. And but how do I do that? Because if I just start doing all this crazy jackass genre stuff and posting it like in Web3, a lot of the people are going to be like super confused, not understanding of what I'm doing here in crypto or why I'm doing these things. And so Mad Lads was like a perfect opportunity because of the brand and the way like the catchphrases and their overall branding. It was like that my content is perfect for the Mad Lads brand. And so I was super excited about that opportunity. So Tristan and I were just like kind of talking back and forth and figuring out ways that we could make this work. And that's kind of where the roster idea came about in the second call with Tristan. I don't even know if it was called the roster at that point, but yeah, the logistics kind of worked out in that sense. And it ended up being a super smart idea in terms of like create what was the terminology I used? It's like you use the word onboarding, but it's like you're creating content that's digestible to a Web2 person and a Web3 person. So it creates this natural bridge. So if someone in Web2 is watching my Mad Lads content that isn't directly, Web3 integrated, it just has the Mad Lads brand on it. They're getting, the Mad Lads brand is getting exposure. People are becoming aware of the catchphrases, and maybe they're becoming a brand. And inevitably, that's got to lead down the tunnel to the product, which is, the wallet and the technology that they're offering. So, yeah. Anyways, long story short, that's kind of how it came about.
It's perfect, man. It's like I think everybody is used to Web2 influencers or stuntman or jackass types, and you become a fan. You go to the YouTube. Inevitably, they make a merchandise. You're buying the merchandise, or you're not buying the merchandise. What you guys are doing with Mad Lads is like you said, such a good bridge because people will see this content. They'll see it on Instagram. Like you guys are actually growing in these Web2 spaces with awesome content. And then they're going to go, wait, hold up. there's crypto behind this? What do you mean there's crypto behind this? And then they go there and they see the Mad Lads and they go, oh, this is sick. Like the PFPs are awesome. Like the user experience is awesome. That onboarding flow is like, it's amazing. And I watched your video that you made, like one of the first ones where you like wake up and you're in your underwear and you go outside and you do all this random shit. I'm just like, damn it, that's
Yeah,
good. It's
I
hilarious. It's
I appreciate that.
it's
That means a
awesome, man.
ton. Yeah, that's been like the game plan too. Is like, bro, let's not even push the NFTs like super heavy. Let's not mention the
Yeah,
word crypto or NFT
yeah,
and NFTs. You know, they hold this stigma right now. Let's just kind of like sprinkle it. You know, like let's just kind of give them like crumbs until they're kind of like, okay, I want more. Now I kind of want to learn more. And honestly, we've had a few cases. I've had a couple people slide in my DMs. A few IRL friends are like, what is this? You know, I enjoy the content you're making. The catchphrase "fuck it" is like super cool. I know a lot of my IRL homies are like, dude, I need that shirt. And so then you start kind of like pushing it their way. You red pill them very slowly. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's like you're at a doorway, and like what's on the other side is limitless. Like I grew up we're probably very close to the same age. Like I grew up in the jackass genre, right? Like
yeah,
that was a huge part of like, I didn't skateboard. My brother skateboarded. I think I was too much of a pussy to skateboard, to be honest. I was playing hockey out there. But like
yeah.
it's so attributable and I'm into it. And I guess like I got a good question for you, and you probably think about this like, what's your dream for the Mad Lads collection? Like, do you think about like TV series, anime? Do you think about like more clothing? Do you think about more like roster building, microcosms of like collections or people around the world coming together? Like, where does your head kind of go with it? What can you even divulge?
I mean, one of my like long time another big influence on me in my childhood and someone that I've looked up to is Rob Dyrdek and kind of what he's
Same,
done.
same.
Like when you talk about like the Fantasy Factory, Robin Big, and then now he's got that empire with ridiculousness, and it's like I'm such a fan of Fantasy Factory or even Bam Margera with Viva La Bam.
Yeah,
Like those are my
yeah.
that's like the dream right there is being able to do stuff like this or like
Nice.
that. And but in order to do that, you kind of have to have resources. You have to have a budget.
Yeah,
You have to have these things to kind of
yeah.
put behind it. And so, inevitably I would love for Mad Lads to kind of move in that direction, which, it kind of already is,
Gosh.
a TV show, a series, of some sort. If you're
Yeah,
building up this like cast of just gnarly motherfuckers, and granted, like I'm the biggest pussy on the roster in the grand scheme of things. You have people that, Tyler LeRon, that is like, swimming with
yeah,
sharks and surf. So yeah, that's the ultimate goal.
yeah.
And then, people make the comparison of like, you know, it's like the Red Bull of Web3. And although I don't usually
Hmm.
like comparisons, I'm a big fan of that because I'm also a massive fan
Yeah,
of Red Bull and how they've
yeah,
carried themselves
yeah,
and how they've built their empire. And so,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know, Mad Lads. I think why if Red Bull had an NFT, bro, I'm max minting that. I'm buying the fuck out
yeah,
of that. I don't care what kind of
yeah.
perks it comes with. I'm just such a fan of Red Bull. So let's do the same with Mad Lads.
Yeah. There's so much for me to unpack in that. And I think the Red Bull statement is perfect for a lot of reasons. Because when people think about Red Bull, they're not just thinking about cracking the can. And I've said this a lot over the years. Red Bull has created sports. Like they have created extreme sports genres. And that's kind of the potential for you guys is like you're sort of the first to market for this sort of blending of in real life and then also Web3 like in a fun way, in a non-cringe way. And like hearing you talk about Rob Dyrdek, like immediately the background song came on in my head. People keep on talking about my best friend, and I was like, oh
Dude,
man. Then I'm like, now they're in Tokyo. I think I'm turning Japanese. And there's a whole bunch of you guys there. Like it, like I this, yeah. No, I think there's a bright future for that whole space.
yeah, I think there's a lot of fun to be had at the base level. Is like I want to have fun and I want to make a living having fun, and having fun to me
Yeah,
is doing what I love, right? And that's fucking creating
yeah,
content and fucking doing crazy shit with my friends. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I think the funny thing too is it's sort of like the jackass to like say Tony Hawk comparison. Maybe you don't have the skills to ride big waves, but you've also got the cojones to do shit that these guys on big waves sure as shit don't want to do. So
yeah. There's definitely like a little piece of the pie for me. I think
yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
that's ultimately that's what the Jackass crew was. When like you explained. I mean, Bam Margera was a professional skateboarder, but Steve-O was a skateboarder back in the day. Johnny, used to skate a little bit. Chris
Yeah,
Pontius, but they all weren't good enough to do what Bam did. So they,
yeah,
kind of led down the path of what that culture kind of provides, and that's
yeah.
being gnarly and partying hard. So.
I guess that's perfect for my next question is like, where did the love for hurting yourself come in?
No, I mean, I get the question, like, are you a masochist? Do you feel pain? Do you like pain? That's not the case at all. It honestly is just like it's I have never been very good at one thing. Like I've
Mm,
been kind of good at a bunch of things, but I've never been
mm,
super good at one thing where it's like, okay, that's what I'm going to do and that's how I'm going to make a living or that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And but for some reason I was like decent at like being a clown in front of a camera. I was good at like being a
nice.
dummy on the camera and garnering attention from other people. And so um I think that's kind of where it came in. And then honestly you start to kind of find a bit of a liking or a love for like the craft of doing a stunt. It's not just about like it's not like I'm sitting here wanting to hurt myself, but being able to look at the final product on video after of how gnarly that thing was and knowing seeing the kind of reaction that it gets, it's kind of like a craft and an art in itself. And so and putting together like the stunts that require like building stuff and getting resources, like the whole experience is fun to me. And so I think that's kind of where it comes from. Is just the final product on camera is very cool to me, and I find it comedic.
Sound. No, that's a good answer. How did you meet Steve-O? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, Steve was like the holy grail in terms of like someone that
Yeah,
had
man.
inspired in my youth and childhood very heavily. And so it was like an ultimate goal to do a collab with Steve-O. I actually made a Facebook post back in 2016. I said, I posted a picture of Steve-O and I said, one day I will do a collab with him. One day I will work with Steve-O. And then I actually became pretty close with his manager, Scott Randolph. He kind of became like a little mentor to me for a little while. He helped me with a lot of things. I was never able to like get that direct DM from Steve-O, but I was always able to kind of get like the sauce from Scott Randolph. And so I was always grateful for that. And in 2019, Scott reached out and he said, Steve has a show in Toronto there in September, his comedy show. I was like, yeah, duh. Like, I'm going. Like, I'm ready. And he's like, okay, have you bought your tickets? And I was like, no, I haven't yet. I was going to buy them this weekend. It was like perfect timing. He's like, don't buy them. I'll get you tickets. Bring, let me know the names of the people you want to bring with you. And I was like, fucking sweet. And so we went to the show, and right as I was showing up to the show, Scott had texted me. He's like, stay a bit after to kind of meet Steve-O and take a
Sick.
picture and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, cool. So then I met him there, and then when I was meeting him, he basically told me he's like, we're in Toronto for another day tomorrow. Why don't you come to the hotel room tomorrow and we'll film something? So I was like, done deal. You
Oh,
name the time.
dude.
And so next day comes around. I'm about to leave my house to to drive down to Toronto with my two buddies at the time to go film. And Scott Randolph texts me and he's like, "You have a tattoo gun, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I have a tattoo gun, but it's like it's like a $60 tattoo gun bought off like Amazon. Like, it's not an actual tattoo gun. It provides ink and provides a needle, but that's about it." He's like, "Nah, good enough. Bring it." So we're like, "Okay." So I have no idea kind of what I'm walking into, and then we get there. We show up and kind of Steve-O kind of gives me the news that he's like, we're going to do a tribal tramp stamp. And so, for me, I think about my dad because there's been a couple opportunities where a tramp stamp has came into play. And I always think about my dad and his reaction, his disappointment that he'd have in me. So I always stayed away from it. But then when Steve-O approaches you with the idea of a tramp stamp, you can't really turn it down. So morality kind of got shoved under the rug, and
Oh,
yeah, that's
that's
how that
dope.
came about.
And so you got a tramp stamp.
I do. Yeah,
Come on, show the people.
of course.
Oh, it's beautiful too. It says like I can't even it says desperation, you know? It's wonderful in that regard.
That's great. That's
It's
exactly what I'm going for.
unisex desperation by
That's what I'm
Steve-O.
going for.
Wow.
There we
That's a
go.
good story too. That's a good story too. Well done.
Thank you.
Oh man. All right. And speaking of your buddies, I was at Breakpoint and I saw you, and you had this posse you had this posse of like 7 foot, 300-pound dudes. I was like, oh my God, this is intimidating. And I was too much of a pussy to come say hello. I got to know, are these guys, are
Fuck.
they teddy bears? Are they ripping heads off? You know, nobody's getting to Jake's goodies.
No, dude. So you're talking about the Candy Machine boys. So my good friends Wish, Solana
Sick,
Steve, Chico, my best
sick.
friend, filmer and editor Colton, Cole. Fuck, I don't want to miss anybody. Tiago, Francisco. So yes, we were
See,
rolling kind of deep, but that was the Candy Machine crew. No, they're all
sick.
great people. The best people I've
That's
met in this
sick,
space
man.
by a mile. You should
Awesome.
have come and said hi, dude. I would have fucking
I
loved
know.
that. But
Oh,
no, those
I
are
know.
the guys.
Missed off. We'll do a dirty re-up at Breakpoint, Singapore.
I'm down. I'm down. Let's do
Nice.
it.
Nice. I like that. We'll do a little event, a little something something. I'll be your host and we'll do something fun.
We'll do a live podcast. I think that could be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's do it. Oh, that's so good. Okay, it's for you, and I don't know if you can even answer this. I know Mad Lads is number one. Do you have a number two NFT pick in Solana? Is that contentious? Do you have a couple?
No, I mean, yeah, I've definitely got a couple. And like this is just like again, obviously, like my opinion and perspective doesn't mean I have bags or in any of these, but I'm a fan of Klano and what they've
Yeah,
done. Um,
yeah.
Sometimes this is a hot take, and I don't understand why. I think like the degens here are just like super impatient, but I'm a fan of OK Bears, and I'm a fan of Kais and how he's carried himself with OK Bears. Galactic Geckos is one of the most goated communities here on Solana.
Oh,
Damn,
sick.
I hate this question because I never want to
Yeah,
miss like
yeah, yeah,
people.
yeah,
I never
yeah,
want to miss
yeah.
anybody. But of course I've SMB, the OGs here on Solana.
It's interesting because like I saw like there was like this almost pretend beef between what was it, Klanos and OK Bears, and then the founders came on and were like, there's no beef here. Let's not be children. We're all supporting each other. And it's like that's sweet because it's like celebration of the fact that there is vibrant and real communities that are like, it's like a Venn diagram. Some people are only NFTs, but I think it's very rare that you're just NFTs. Maybe if you're just entering through the door, the funnel of crypto, but then it starts to overlap and you become DeFi users, you become gamers, you become all this extra stuff. And it's like, there doesn't need to be tribalism. And like I got a Klano with the Saga phone because I bought a Saga phone earlier last year. I ended up getting actually 2 Klanos for it. I was like, I mean, that turned out to be a solid trade. And I'm like, these are like
Massive W.
super sweet. They're like, I really like the art. And I think it's like, I saw there was like ex Disney employees there. And I'm like, this could be very interesting.
Yeah, no, they're super competent team. Actually, fellow Canadians as well, which
Mm,
is
mm.
super cool. They're from Montreal.
Sick.
Yeah, I got my Call of the Saga Klano as well. Store, back deep into my Saga phone. I'll probably never see the light of day. But no, I agree with you, man. It's like it's very weird. There's like this like maybe it's bag bias or I don't know what it is, dude. But I think people care a little too much in that regard. It's like that specific situation where OK Bears happen to be left off a graphic that Klano posted, and they like completely flip. They completely like make a narrative or a script out of it that like this was a jab, and it just makes like absolutely no sense to me. And it's like it's good to see the founders come out and be like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" But yeah, dude, I don't know. Weird narratives get spun out of nowhere for no reason.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
NFT world. It is what it is. But I just
Yeah.
I'll never partake in that. I like to stay away from that area.
Agreed. Like neutrality, I try to remain coming into the space. Like it's easy to have opinions, right? But then it can
Yeah,
be hard to execute them well because then you're just always going to end up pissing somebody off. And so I try to be a voice of reason without pissing too many people off. And it becomes hard. It becomes hard. You just got to do you and stand by your ethos, man.
yeah, and I think there's like constructive opinions and like feedback, right? Like there's a massive discrepancy between like what's like constructive and what isn't. And if you have no opinion at all, then what's the point, right? It's like it's not like you're either with me or against me energy, but it's like you have to have opinion on like certain things in order for like the space to like move past a certain topic or move past a certain place or whatever. So, but in terms of like conflict and going about it, it's like, yeah, there's definitely a correct way you're supposed to go about it. And I think a lot of people miss that. They miss that target. They miss the mark a little bit.
Right. You make a good point. Like, you have to be able to call people out in this space, but it's a matter of how you call them out. Because if you
Yeah,
fundamentally think builders are building incorrectly or like the tokenomics are shit, if you don't call that out and everybody just like, oh, it's good, bag bias, it's good, then like you don't leave room for it to be innovated on. And then a lot of new people coming into the space don't actually get to learn what is good and what is wrong.
and and it's exactly, dude. And it's like it's even like the other way, like devil's advocate too, where it's like you look at D gods, and of course they have fucked up on multiple occasions, but it's turned into this like fud fest where it's like, well, dude, they've done a lot of good things right, and there's like definitely a proper way to go about like, hey, I think if you guys did this instead, it would have benefited the community, their holder, like the holders better, or would have looked better in the public eye, right? But instead, people like to just kind of kick while it's down or go about it and want to like in a weird like obsessive way. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It is what it
totally
is.
fair. Totally fair. They could have the D gods could have looked like brilliant champions too, had the Ethereum thing played out. And I'm sure at the time they were like, "Oh yeah, excellent decision. We gotta go." And then everybody flips. But we'll leave that alone. All right, I'm gonna keep you on the hot seat for one more question. I want to know how do you see the market playing out? Do you have any favorite picks?
Oh, dude, I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like I said, dude, I don't have okay, and I've been like super open about this. Like, I'm not a crypto vet. I got into crypto through NFTs because I like the idea of an NFT. And then, of course, like you said, the funnel. You start dabbling on DeFi and you start learning about other chains and all these other cool things that are in this world of Web3, right? Um, but being here for the past 2 years, the unexpected happened way more than the expected. It felt like, who would have expected the whole Luna Black Swan? Who would have expected FTX? And who would have expected Solana being labeled as a security? Like it's been a really fucking weird emotional roller coaster. So I don't know if I want to projections on Solana. I think regardless, if you have a long term bag of Solana, I think you'll be good. Like NFA, actually FA, dude. Financial advice. If you have a long term bag of Solana, you're looking good. I'm gonna say it with my chest.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think right now we're kind of in like a weird like airdrop meme coin, very degenerate like season, which it makes sense. Like finally money's kind of flowing around again. And so people are like, holy fuck, thank God that I can fucking get my dopamine hit on a 2x
Yeah.
on a meme coin that's called whatever. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that'll flow into NFTs. So I'm excited about that. And I think 2024 will be a good year. I don't think it'll be anything crazy. If it stays like this, that's great. If it, goes down a little bit, there's corrections. But I think near
Yeah.
the end of 2024 is when we'll kind of see some fucking euphoria, some real euphoria is what I'm kind of thinking.
I think, and like that's why I asked because it's important, right? You have a lot of users coming in a lot of different spaces, and you did
Yeah.
something very very correct. Like I came in 2017. This is honestly kind of like my first full cycle because when 2017 dumped in 2018, I just walked away like an idiot.
Yeah.
And then so when I came back in 2020 and wrote it up and wrote it down, I was like, you're not leaving again. So I stayed since then. And like you said, we saw all this craziness. And I kind of learned over the last 6 months that I'm shit at looking at the chart and trying to dictate which direction it goes. But what I
Yeah.
found from being in Solana over the last year, especially, was conviction. And like you said, like if you're just going to hold the asset and just wait for it to go up and cycle into things that you think are going to be good. Like if you can catch some airdrops, if you can find some protocols that you align with, cycle your soul in, take good trades, take it back out into soul. Like I do think 2024 is going to be pretty crazy. I think there's too many catalysts to not make it crazy with like if the ETF gets approved and it be an election year and all this macro shit that I've also learned I've got no sense even paying attention to. But it's like it's
Yeah.
important. It's important to put yourself in that perspective, and it seems like you're thinking about it similar to I am. Just freaking have the long
No,
game, align with protocols and good teams.
dude, you absolutely nailed it. That's exactly where my head is at. Except I had no like 2017 experience, but in terms of like, I was literally just having a conversation. I was on a space yesterday, and conviction is like so important. And like for me, it's something that I like. Crypto actually taught me it a little bit better, where it's like I never really realized I was trusting my gut when things like did happen. But then when I kind of look back now, and like I even look at like Solana as an example. Sure, we're not like where we could be or where I think we're gonna be, but we're like catching these like small minor W's, and those
Yeah. Yeah.
W's are like that was something that I was convicted on, and they're big W's for me, right? Like certain thresholds, and so, and that was like me trusting my gut, and so it made me kind of like look back, and I'm like, damn, every time I've like been super tunnel vision and convicted on something, it's ended up working out to a degree. Like for example, like I didn't go to college, I was tunnel vision on doing content for a living. Now I'm not fully there yet. I had different expectancy timeline. I thought I'd be a millionaire by now, being one of the biggest YouTubers. Stuff doesn't work in your favor, but I trusted my gut. I didn't go to college. Crypto term, I was chewing on glass for 10 years, and then now I'm here in Web3, and I'm semi self sufficient, making content for a living. So that was me trust my gut. That was another conviction. So it's like you start to like go down the rabbit hole, and it's like, yeah, like at this point in time, I'm focused solely on my convictions, and anything else is kind of just noise.
I love that, man. That's a great assummation. Okay. I like to ask my guests this kind of question, put you on the spot one more time. What's the thing that keeps you sane, that's kept you sane throughout the bear market? And something tells me I already know the answer to this question. Whether it's exercise, eating, filming yourself, what keeps Jake going?
Yeah, I don't want to be corny, but my girlfriend and my family. It's been good to disconnect with those, them. Skateboarding is always a good outlet for me. Obviously, just filming content with my friends, like Web2 content vlogs. Nicotine, which is not something I'm proud of, but nicotine is like, I don't know what it is, dude. I need to get off it. That's another thing, dude. I think
I like the honesty, man. The honesty is clutch.
yeah, dude. I think like just having like-minded people around me. Music too. I was thinking the other day, and I was like, there's nothing in the world that can change my mood from being like in my feels to feeling like a gangster to feeling like a rock star. Like there's nothing in the world that can do that. And I was just thinking, I'm like, damn, music is like a really deep thing that's like helped me in a few like whatever. So music and consistency, dude, just being consistent. I don't know. I believe in the idea of consistency to like its highest degree. So those are my answers.
That is sage. That is sage. All right. Where can we find you on Twitter, sir? It's at Sol Jakey, right?
At Sol Jakey on Twitter. Yep.
I love it. Thanks for coming on the Dirty Podcast, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. This was a great conversation.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.